Hello and welcome to another edition of the Silver Fox. It's been a couple of weeks since I've posted, but I have started playing a couple of the new maps. I like them so far. I think they're pretty interesting. It looks like in the season's ladder they've added some new maps and then kept some of the old ones. We just played this game on Lost and Found LE. This is a great example of why Thors are amazing. Let's watch and find out. TVT is starting to get a little easier in this season, or it seems like it's easier this season so far. I wonder if people spiked in their interest in Starcraft at the beginning of last year because free-to-play came out and now are dropping off. We'll see. Spawning in the top right corner with the red Terran pieces, we have Tara Tassadar. And in the bottom left, as always, we have the real Quaid. Woo! We have an early SCV scout taking the long way around. I'm going to increase the speed a little bit here because it's pretty standard front end build. Yeah, I chased out his SCV and then got into my 3 racks. I wasn't gonna do Reapers, but I wanted to get a pretty decent army up pretty quickly. When you're playing against Terran, they have a tendency to wall off their base and turtle in the lower leagues, in the silver leagues, and the gold leagues. You can see he's expecting Reapers. He must have gotten jumped recently because putting a bunker right here is actually not a bad idea if you wanted to deter Reapers. Unless that is they come on this side. Because the radius of a bunker is not very far. So I just happened to come in on the other side with my Reaper and saw what was going on and understood it immediately. And I figured if I can get his mule, that'd be a pretty nice pickup. What he should have done right now is unloaded his bunker and came and killed me. But killing his mule, that's big. And then he pulls all his SCVs. It's not ideal. At most, just pull a couple and get my Reaper some pressure. I tried to pick up this, I feel like this is extra slow now. I tried to pick up this SCV, but it didn't work out. He got this command center before. Reapers love supply depots. Anytime they see a supply depot, man, they'll just sit there and shoot it all day long. Anyway, it's time for me to get on out of here. Another bunker. So he's going for the defensive strategy. I'm just now starting my second CC, so technically he's ahead of me, economy-wise. But he doesn't have any army. Or not much of one. They're all sitting inside of these bunkers. It's interesting that he takes that gas before he took that one. He must be running into... he probably wanted to put his tech lab on and make a factory at the same time and was like, he's actually not blocked, so I'm not really sure what prompted him to make 2 gas geysers at the same time. It's kind of interesting. Got some idle SCVs. Comes in the factory. And researching STEM. I have my engineering bay out, but I am not upgrading. I think I'm focused on getting this base up and running. You can see he's very dug in mentality. I like it. It's kind of a throwback to Starcraft 1. Turtle Terran. The problem with the bunkers is, you know, the more you have, the more of your army sits inside doing nothing. So they can't fight. If they can't fight, then they're not really adding much value to your force. Because, you know, the range on the bunker is limited. So if they're sitting inside here and not doing anything, got a starboard coming up, a couple more barracks. So he's essentially doing the same build I'm doing. He just did it in a different order and much slower. I can see here with my Reaper that this is heavily fortified, so I might as well just turn around at this point. There's no reason running my Marines into a bunch of bunkers. I'm not going to win. But when I do see that, then I immediately think, okay, what I need to get is some siege tanks. So here comes the tanks. Now, I know I promised you Thors, so Thors will be coming, trust me. Got that +1 attack coming up for my Marines. At this point, I think, you know, possible drop scenario with a scan going down like that, but I think he was just looking for my base. Sorry, my army. Immediately queue up some medevacs. And with that scan, I'm thinking, okay, here comes a drop, so put some Marines to deflect here in case this is coming in on the side. I think I was giving my opponent a little too much credit. I should have noticed when he, by his build, that, you know, this is definitely not something that I needed to worry about. He's more afraid of me than I am of him. So I got the medevacs out. I got sufficient Marines. I think +1's almost done. Combat shield is not done yet. I may have neglected to research combat shield. What's always a good thing to do that I've been learning as I've been watching the pro gamers play, send some drops out quickly. Just do harass. So there, with 3 factories, I can start building pretty good. Pretty quickly. So I scanned him to see what he had at the front of his base. I saw that there was a bunch of tanks and bunkers. So that's always a good opportunity to go and drop some Marines, because all of his army is sitting at the front of his base. He has nothing to defend here. Typically, people put a turret here, so if you have some room to run, you know, just drop a little earlier, and that way you don't. Man, he has a lot of idle SCPs, and that way you don't have any problems with the turrets. He must have sniffed. Oh, I guess that's his path for getting his tanks out. They have to go all the way around. And here's a pretty nice execution on taking out a ton of SCVs. Like, that's like, he shouldn't have lost that many. He should have pulled them much sooner. That's crazy. Here comes his army. So I think I just leave, because I know there's nothing I can do really against his entire force. But what it did do is slow down his mining by a lot. Now I got some siege tanks out. He's mobilizing his force for an offensive. Here's another thing that I've been doing a lot lately: making sure that I get multiple armories up quickly, so that I can indeed get the very valuable upgrades. If you have upgraded army units versus unupgraded, you're probably going to win almost every time. I was going to build another turret there, and I thought, what am I doing? There's already one here, and I'm blocking myself in, essentially, so. I'm really glad I didn't send my entire army across the field there. I was about to, and I decided to go build a tower over here, and he showed his hand. He shouldn't have done that. Little back and forth. Tanks just leaving blood splatters all over the map. It's fantastic. I love watching Marines explode. But at this point I have Thors out. You know, a Thor unupgraded is doing 30 damage. A Marine has 45 health. It's just a couple of shots. Yeah, just a couple of shots and the Marine's dead. So they're pretty effective against light infantry. More effective against buildings, but they're in large numbers. Thors can just rip through infantry. So now you see he's scanned and he sees I have Thors. He's not moving his army up though, which is his mistake. If he were to inch his army up and engage me properly in a way that made sense, it would it'd be a lot smoother for him. I'm not sure what. There he goes. Okay, so now he's inching up. This is what you have to do. You have to leapfrog your tanks. And he's continuously making more, so he's not doing a bad... Well, he's not doing a great job of bringing everything over, but he's not doing a bad job either. At this point, I realize what he's doing. And I know that I need to get some units out quickly that are gonna be able to deal with this. Once I get boxed in and get my third cut off, I mean, I can always expand north, which I think is actually the preferable way to go. This is a smaller choke to protect. So if you have your tanks and barracks here or bunkers here, at this point I'm in trouble if I don't get something going. So I have lots of tanks on the way. But he waited. Now I have a bunch of tanks out. So now if he were to leapfrog his tanks right now, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Actually, I'm gonna go back a second because he did something kind of funny. During this engagement, I decided to drop a Thor also in his base and basically take out his entire economy again, doing the exact same place that I dropped before. Sorry I didn't capture that. It was unbelievable. I knew that he had his entire force over here. I'm trying to get better at the drops while I'm being engaged, because if he's gonna bring his entire army over here, his base is basically undefended. So, you know, if I were to drop 4 Thors over here right now, his base would be dead. There's nothing to defend it. Some Marines, but you know, he couldn't build enough fast enough to take it out. Now I have my tanks sieged up on this coastline here, and there's like really no way that he can engage into this the way that he did this. So and I have Thors pounding down on him too, and it's just I love this. Look at him blow. So he makes the right call. He leaves. There's no way that he's gonna win this. So immediately, what you need to do is you go and I lost the Viking there. Obviously, Widow Mines, leaving them after a battle is kind of a good idea if your opponent does what I just did and walks right into it. Here's the dumb thing about Thors and tanks in this map. This always happens to me. It's so tight in here. If you're not really strategic with where you put your buildings, you're gonna have a lot of AI running into each other and trying to figure out where to go problems, which is unfortunate. So now he's taken his third base and I've taken mine. And I think he's finally learned that he can't leave his entire base undefended. So he builds an armory. That's interesting. But yeah, so now a tank Actually, I'm not even sure if it would hit where I was dropping, but... Now this position is so fortified that he has no chance of getting in here. And then I just simply continue to make Thors and upgrade my units. So I'm sitting at 111. And I have 7 Thors out. So my opponent is now getting greedy and taking bases all over the map. Which is actually not a bad idea if you're not scouting like I wasn't. So I know that he has a massive force of tanks sitting here at the front. I don't want to walk into that. Tutu just about to finish up. And you can see that the Thors and tanks are getting very confused about what to do again. I have to lift off my factory. So that at this point I think I decided just to float it over and try to land it outside because of that problem. This tank had to siege up because it couldn't get out. It's blocked in by this tech lab and this turret. So his greed is a good idea, but he's not making... well, now he's starting to make orbitals, which is smart. That's what he should be doing. But this force is coming towards him now, so he's got a lot of... Right, this is going to be a big engagement here. Scans go down. His tanks are already in a good siege position, so I don't know exactly if I can bait him out or not. I think I'd take a medevac or a Viking, and yeah, medevac, and go kind of check it out. And I can see that I don't have the range on my tanks. So now I have 2-2. He's not upgrading. I guess he's researching ship weapons. Ah, because here comes his battle cruisers. So he's got a couple battle cruisers out. Battle cruisers are absolutely terrible units. They take forever to build and basically can be countered by one of the cheaper units, which is the Viking. If you have sufficient Vikings in the area, you're going to win against battle cruisers. So here we go. At this point, then I can start moving my tanks forward and hopefully bait him into a walking into this trap. He sees that I'm sitting over here, so he knows I'm coming. That was an interesting path he chose. Here comes this cattle bruiser and just gonna get messed up by all this. But I know that if I walk in here, I'm gonna get messed up. So that was the wrong move. I should not have done this. And Thors prioritize medevacs over tanks when they attack. Just FYI, if you move into a bunch of siege up tanks, they will prioritize attacking the medevacs. That's absolutely crazy. But as long as you keep building while you're at home and don't let your minerals get too out of control, I'm not doing a great job here. Finally, I moved that factory over. I think finally realized that it was just sitting up there. So during that entire engagement, I should have been building. I wasn't doing a great job of that. And look, I have so many units queued up. It's just terrible. So I think I finally start realizing that there's a bunch of Widow Mines queued up, and I don't really want Widow Mines. I want more Thors and tanks. His base is not really doing much. His minerals are out of control right now. But he's building very expensive units, so I think that's why he decided to take these bases, because he needs the gas. But he's not really mining the gas, so I'm not really sure why he's not mining the gas. Since I saw those battle cruisers, I figured I have some SUVs up here. Why don't I just build some turrets? Once he put that refinery down, I knew that he had a base over here, so he showed his hand. I should have had Marine scouts sitting over here, waiting for it. This gets cleaned up pretty quickly. I love watching Thor shoot SCVs. It's just a great animation. And then I see this base. I didn't ever find this one, but I saw that he had another base over here. So if I brought enough units, it would take it out pretty quickly, and that's exactly what it did. So I'm trying to choke off his money, because I know his other base has got to be running kind of low at this point. You can see that the damn Thors are prioritizing the damn battle cruisers again. It's driving me crazy. And they just get smoked by all of these tanks. But here comes the reinforcements. Watch the Vikings just shred through the battle cruisers. God, they're just so bad. Slow-moving, lumbering giants that can't fight. And he did not siege up his tanks right here, and this is what cost him the game. At this point, he's still producing Marines, but that's just not going to be enough at this point. Out against 2 3s. Anyway, that was kind of a sloppy game, but it was very interesting to see my opponent take that many bases and then try to switch into battle cruisers unsuccessfully. That's why you should never do this. You should never go into battle cruisers. Well, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.